Here's a ranking of my top 10 most emotionally damaging books. You will cry, you will want to throw the book across the freaking room, but you will also love them and you will never quit thinking about these books once you read them. So yeah, they're 5 stars. Basically, add them to your list. Also, this was incredibly hard to rank because I love all of these series or all of these books so much. So with that being said, make sure that you're reading responsibly, grab your box of tissues, pick up these books if you haven't yet, and let's dive right in. Coming in number 10 is Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. And this was the first book I read when I started my Throne of Glass journey, and because of that, it's number 10. I think if I read it number 3 or 4, this would have got definitely bumped up. I won't give away any spoilers just in case there's viewers here that have not read the series yet, but it's basically a bunch of short little novellas, and one of the novellas definitely had me sobbing. If you know, you know, but I think I wasn't as emotionally invested in the characters yet because this was the first book that I picked up in the series. Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren is such a great romance book. It is friends to lovers, to friends again, lovers. It's just so amazing. And there's a couple parts in this book that you will literally bawl your eyes out. I remember I was driving and I was listening to this book on audio and I had to pull over for a second at one part and had to regather my thoughts and be like, it's okay, it's just a book. So 5 stars, so amazing. A good romance book. This is just such a well-written, thoughtful, raw, and emotional story that I love recommending to people. The Sins of Silas by Kylie Snow. This is the second book in the Octation Chronicles series. This was one of my 6-star reads from 2025. The first book is Eliza Lena, and I liked it, but I wasn't in love with it. But after I finished that book, I could not quit thinking about this. So I went and picked up the second book. I remember reading it. I was on an airplane crying. It's just so amazing. If you like books that are very character driven with a ton of emotional depth, then this is a book that you should definitely be picking up. It is a dark romantasy, so there's so many trigger warnings that are in this book, so please make sure that you are checking your trigger warnings before diving in. But if you like dark books with darker themes or elements, this is definitely a series that you will love. There's mages, there's humans, there's like a time jump in the first book, and then they fill it in the second book. It's just such an overall incredible series. It is unfinished, and so I'm waiting for the author to say when she's going to release the next book because I literally can't wait. Now, I haven't finished the Zodiac Academy series yet, but I'm on book 8, and this is book 7. And the ending of this book is rough. That's all I'll say. The ending in this book is rough. I've cried also in Shadow Princess, which is number 4 at the ending. If you just like books with tons of emotional damage and you haven't read this series yet, you definitely should. I know Zodiac Academy gets a lot of hate from people because of the way it's written, but I think this series is so entertaining. It's like a CW show mixed with the Real Housewives, but like all the best parts, tons of drama, very unique. It's got like a very cool magic system that's very easy to follow. Our FMCs are twins and they are living in the human world, and then somebody shows up at their door and takes them away. So it's giving Hogwarts a little bit, but the writing is very conversational, and I think that's what a lot of people struggle with. But I love this series. Like I said, it is so entertaining. Back with another SJM book. This is House of Earth and Blood. This is the first book in the Crescent City series, and there is literally 2 chapters in here. One chapter, I was crying so hard about what just happened, and then the next chapter literally had me laughing. Like the most raw, dangerous sense of humor that was just so well done. I really don't think that this series gets enough hype because it is honestly one of the best series that I've still ever read, not just in SJM, but it's just so thoughtful. I loved the characters. I loved the world building in here, and the plot was good. So if you were on the fence about reading Crescent City, then this is your sign to go pick it up because it really is so good. Exodus by Kate Stewart. This is the second book in the Ravenhead series, and I remember I was in a car, we were on a road trip, and I was listening to this book on audio, which, by the way, the audio is also fantastic. And there's a part in this book where I just started crying. My husband's driving, he looks over, he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. It just kind of gave me like chills. It's just so thoughtful. I love this series so much. And the first book is Flock. And if you haven't read that one yet, you know, a good book. It's definitely giving like a bit of like Why Choose energy. But this series is not a white shoes. It is so much more than that. It's a lot of depth, emotional damage, heartbreak, but it's also just so well done, and it's a completed trilogy, which is also bonus points. When I finished this book, Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas, I don't know if I cried because I was just so happy that I completed the series, but not in a bad way. Like, I'm just so proud of myself because this was like the big series that I've ever read from start to finish, like in a row. But during one of the last chapters, some very heartbreaking things happen, and it's such a good series. I think that Kingdom of Ash is my favorite book in the Throne of Glass series because I feel like with an ending, sometimes it's hard to really give you like an epic ending where there's no loose ends, there's nothing missing, you're not craving anything else. And I think that Kingdom of Ash hits that on all fronts. Okay, this is my last SJM book, I promise. But I don't know what it is about her books that they sometimes get me going. A Court of Rings and Ruin is the third book in the ACOTAR series. Since it's the third book in what you would almost call like a completed trilogy before we get into the other two books, there's a couple scenes in here because this is more of like a war-driven story, and there's some things that happen, and I started crying. And I remember picking up my phone, texting my friend that recommended this series, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Why am I so upset? This can't be happening. Like, screw you for giving me the series. And then look where we are now. But so obsessed. I'm actually going to be doing a full reread of all the ACOTAR books and probably Throne of Glass. Actually, probably the entire universe this year, as I'm really excited to like dive into this world and kind of that I've missed, since I feel like I've read hundreds of books since reading this series, and see if it still lives up to the hype for me. Coming in number 2 is Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. This is the second book in the Boys of Tommen series. The first book is Binding 13, and I love this series so freaking much. It is emotional, it is heartbreaking, and it's one of those series where you are just, honestly, you're rooting for the main characters so much. You want nothing but the best for them, and I think that's why this book hit me so hard. I remember when I was reading this book that I was laying in bed. I think I have it tabbed in here somewhere, but the chapter, I won't say anything about what happens, but I remember in my whole body, literally my arms got chills over it. I remember reading it and just being like, I'm getting chills actually right now thinking of it because it's just so emotional. And, you know, like I went into this whole series just kind of thinking it was like an easy to read. It's about high school students, which I usually don't love reading about because I'm a little bit older than that. But I connected with these characters on such a raw emotional level, and I love them so much. And the things that happen to these characters are definitely dark and triggering, and like that's what I say, you like start connecting with these characters and you just want the best for them. Why do we like books that do this to us? And the number 1 book that made me cry the hardest, and I am talking full-on sobs, wet face, snot going, like the whole shebang, is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This is still the only Kristen Hanna book I have ever read. I have probably 6 or 7 of her other books on my shelves. I just have not had the willpower to like dive into them yet. I am going to read The Great Alone this year though, and I love this book. I read it maybe 2.5 years ago, and I honestly have not quit thinking about this book. I feel like it's just one of those books that like changed me, changed my reading perspective. And I know this book is very different from the other ones I've talked about. And she just has a way of writing where you just feel so connected to the story. They're moving, they're intense, they're traumatic, and they're like historical, I think, as another layer of it. But if you haven't read The Nightingale yet, like this is a historical fiction. This is a story about sisters living in German-occupied France during World War II. And there's just, you know, obviously anything that goes into what's happening in a war can get very emotional. She delivered that in a raw and real way. One of the books that you should 100% read. This was just one of those books that like hit so hard for me. And it's like so happy that I'm actually scared to go back and read the rest of her books because of how emotional I got. Just yeah, read. Here, this book is 5 stars. It emotionally destroyed me. Go ahead and read it. That's the vibe of it. If you haven't read any of these books, you know, like read responsibly, make sure you have your tissues with you, and thank you so much for watching.